you don't care anymore. You just don't care what they think. You don't care what they say. You don't care what they believe. And that was the last thing that was needed for you to begin your detachment and healing journey. Because yes, for you to heal and evolve from this, you needed to leave all that behind. And for some of you, this may be coming from someone really close to you. This negativity, this problem causing, energy leeching person is so close to you. They may be either in your work environment or they may be from your own family. And it's time that you stop giving so much of you to people who don't value that at all. Like every time that they needed your help, you gave the help. And then they complained or they had the audacity to villainize you because you didn't do the things that they wanted you to do. But you just don't care anymore. And I see that you're finally freeing yourself from the expectations that people have of you. You don't care if they think that you're not a good person. You don't care if they think that you're not a good peer, a good friend, a good partner, a good co-worker, a good sister, cousin, aunt. You don't care because you know your truth. God knows the truth of what you did, how you felt about them, how much you tried to help them, how much you tried to be there, how many times you were there that they became so suddenly oblivious to. They forgot all the things that you did for them. They're in this energy of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. How come you always have a way of figuring it out? How come you have more money saved? How come you have your problems handled on your own? How come you find a way? How is it that you find possibilities in the impossible? How is it that you're constantly thinking of solutions when you are being attacked endlessly by so many problems left and right? How come you keep going despite you being so drained, so tired, so lonely, so depressed? And how is it that they cannot do the same? How is it that they even have access to maybe even more things than you do? I'm seeing that for some of you, maybe you had both parents present, but maybe one of them was checked out, like they were not involved or engaged. And so you didn't have the same level of support that several people around you had. They probably had both of their parents involved, engaged, providing, supporting, helping, loving, showing up. And you didn't have that same level of support, that same level of dedication from people. While you were growing up, you didn't have the same things that they received. These people grew up with more opportunities, more love, more toys, more gifts, more moments with family members. You grew up lonelier. You grew up more isolated. You had to figure things out. Yes, you did have some love because I do see that someone in your space did love you and they did so much to be there for you, but you did not have the same level of opportunities, of resources that some of these people around you had, and they have the audacity to come to you for help because despite having it all, what is inside of them is so empty, is so immature. So why is it that you can figure things out and people can come to you, but they cannot solve their own problems? And when you do help out, they leave you worse than they found you. And the moment that you stop saying, no, I can't, I won't, I'm not able to, I'm busy. The moment that you start enforcing limits and boundaries, now they don't like you. Now suddenly you're the villain. Now suddenly you're the bad one. Now suddenly you think you're all that. They claim that you're petulant, that you're cocky, that you're arrogant, that you're bougie, that you are, that you think you're better than them. They portray you as someone who, look at that. The level of immaturity that these people have is just, you're not on the same level. They portray you as a villain in their life to justify their wrongdoings. And now that you're no longer given access, full unconditional access to them, now they want to complain. Now they want to nag and find a way to bring you down. That's what they're doing. Misery loves company. And in some way, they want to bring you down. They want to bring you to their level of stupidity, of stubbornness. They want to bring you down to their level to argue with them. They want you to be stuck. They want you to be upset because they're upset. They want you to feel lonely because they feel lonely. They want you to feel empty because they feel empty. They want you to not have support because they claim they don't have support. Don't engage anymore. It's not necessary. If you wanted a sign, please believe what I'm telling you, that whatever you're thinking that you can possibly do to get through to these people, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You could literally take them back in time, like go back in time with them and show them what really happened in those moments in which you guys had misunderstandings, or in times in which they maybe misbehaved or didn't show up in their best way, didn't show up with their best behavior. You could literally go back in time, show them that second by second, and they'll still be in such defensive and denial mode. They will negate everything that happened, that they did. They're not self-accountable. They're not responsible. They don't have that mindset of growth. Because for you to grow as a person, you have to be able to acknowledge your own wrongdoings, and you have to be able to reflect on the effect of your actions onto others. But these people don't see any issues with the wrongdoings. Matter of fact, it's so easy for them to spot what they claim that you're doing wrong than it is for them to pause and say, you know what? Maybe my life is effed up because of my own fault. Maybe I'm lonely because I pushed people away. Maybe I got into problems, or maybe I got in trouble because I caused it. Maybe I could have prevented this. Maybe I lost my job because I didn't do my best, because my work ethic was not where it needed to be. These people are not capable of accepting that, because them accepting their own mistakes would be them confronting themselves, and pretty much their whole image, their whole self-concept of being so grandiose, and it's funny because they don't have self-esteem, but at the same time, they're so cocky and arrogant, and they think that they truly are better than others, than you. But it's so funny because in their mentality of not having self-esteem, but thinking too highly of themselves, by being so egocentric, if they confronted themselves by admitting their own mistakes, that image that they have of being so good at this, so good at that, so perfect, so mature, so independent, so capable, so strong, or whatever BS they tell themselves, that image would crumble. Their whole world would fall apart. Because they're living their life on a false image of who they think they are, but they're not. So you do represent someone who could either trigger them to healing, and it would lead them to success because your advice is very wise, or you represent someone who would trigger them to push you away out of their life because they're not capable of helping catapult you into bigger and better things. Let me slow that down and say it again. You have a role in their life, but they have a role in yours too. They can either take your presence, your advice, your support, and learn from you and become better and improve their lives through inspiration, because you truly are admirable and inspiring. So they could see you as that if they wanted to, or if they continue to stay in this shadow, darker, unhealed version of themselves, they could end up pushing you away from them and finally stepping into the pedestal where you belong, because they're not wanting to put in the work. They're not wanting to get better. They don't want to grow. They don't want to make themselves better by improving their mistakes.